Hey, there we are. Hey, just a quick video. Sunday morning. One of the ways you can love your neighbors is helping them out when they're not feeling good. I'm going to show you Sandra's giant. Okay, it's not actually Sandra's giant cauldron. It's more like my giant cauldron. But we're making up a batch of bone and tissue ointment. And so, huge, great big batch. This is actually one of the largest ones, probably the largest one I've ever done. But we've got, we'll use over 4 pounds of the various herbs. Now, bone and tissue ointment is phenomenal for pretty much, I just tell people put it anywhere it hurts. It's a great ointment. 6 parts oak bark, 6 parts comfrey, 3 parts marshmallow root, and 3 parts mullein, 3 parts walnut bark, 2 parts wormwood. I use 2 parts gravel root, 1 part lobelia, and 1 part skullcap. Hi, Brandy. And just real quick, I'm not going to go and show you because what we've done, I got a really big pot this time. So what we're doing is to make a salve out of the loose herbs, is taking the loose herbs, and then we're actually cooking them in the salve base or the oil. In this case, I use what I call my 5-2-1 blend. The 5-2 is 5 parts of coconut oil, 2 parts of shea butter, and 1 part of beeswax. This gives a nice, not only a healthy consistency, but gives a nice consistency that doesn't melt at too low of a temperature. I think I'm actually going to start using that with all the different blends, because the 5-2-1 blend I've been refining for some time. And I might tinker with a little more, but so far it's working pretty well. So long story short, what we're doing, we're taking the 5-2-1 blend, then I'm taking the loose herbs, and the oil, there's actually about 12 pounds of oil down underneath this, already pre-blended and melted and ready to go. The 5-2-1 blend in the pot with the loose herbs, and what I'm doing is the ones that are roots, the roots and the ones that are larger pieces, I just put in the blender. I don't necessarily grind them to powder. I just loosen them up a little bit so they're relatively fine, you know, kind of like you see in here, so that they absorb real well. What we're going to do is we'll mix all of this into the oil. We'll mix all this into the oil. Not at all, Mark. You know, I love my neighbor, even if they're liberal. If they don't agree with me, if they're from the left side, and want to help everyone. So here is that. We're going to put that at 170. Is 170. I usually melt the 5-2-1 blend at 170. I'll probably cook these at 180, but it's a low temperature. So rather than trying to do a stovetop kind of deal, we will make the bone and tissue ointment in a large pan. That way we can really control the temperature, and I can soak this in the oil and cook it down for probably 8 to 12 hours. So I give it a good long time in there, and then it has to be strained out. Now with salves like this, with loose herbs in a salve, they soak up some of that oil, so it takes quite a bit of pressing to squeeze it out. And you can do it like just by hand, or you know, in a strainer bag or something like that, but it's quite a bit of work. And so ultimately we'll definitely, but what I'll actually use, and that's why I'm scaling up, because I go through a lot of it. A lot of people, this helps a lot of people, and so you know, I make it up, and I encourage other people to make it up too. But what I have here is a big press. So this is like a wine press basically, and you can see that it's fairly substantial. So this is what we'll use to press this out and really maximize it, because the oil, you know, all that oil, all that shea butter, beeswax, I mean, this is probably about $50, $60 worth of oil material, and then probably another $70 worth of herbs. But this will give a very large batch. I mean, this is going to be a lot of salve. It's obviously, you know, this isn't just me using it. This will make a lot of jars of salve, which I'll then jar up. I'll whip it up when we're finished, and after it cools down, I'll whip it a little bit so it's real malleable, and then put it into the jars, and we'll be good to go. That'll be what's commonly referred to as bone and tissue ointment. It's one of the Dr. Christopher formulas, and there's certainly people make different formulas. Sometimes I mix up the formulas a little bit. This one I pretty much use as Dr. Christopher made it, because it's just a phenomenal formula. And bear in mind, I'm cooking this. You wouldn't want to put this in at 350. I mean, I'm just keeping that oil melted and just slow cooking, you know, slow heating to extract the constituents of those herbs. Whereas if you do it on the stove, you have to monitor it really closely. You're not going to get near as much time. And so, you know, we got all these loose herbs. here's the final mix. I'm just kind of blending up a little bit some of the ones that are a little stiff, putting them in there, and then it will be ready to go whenever I'm ready for 8, 12 hours, something like that. And then I'll have to squeeze it out, and then I'll have to strain it and let it cool. Sorry, I'm a little sniffly. It's because of the herbs. When you work with the herbs, the powder gets in the air, and it clears your sinuses right up. So, and yeah, I guess that would be a great press, because once it's wine, it's already been pressed. So yeah, this particular one is bone and tissue. Now there's a recipe. If you go to callmegav.com, I've listed how I make this. I did an extensive blog article on bone and tissue, everything that's in there. And bone and tissue, what's it for? It's a salve, and pretty much, you know, if you get anything from in what people have told me, what I've seen, I'm not your doctor, disclaimer, anything from arthritis to helping a cut heal faster. Bone and tissue is phenomenal. It's been used for decades. You can actually buy bone and tissue made off Amazon because it's a commercially made product by Dr. John Christopher's estate. And it's super well reviewed. I mean, it's used all over the world, and I go through a lot of it. I make it myself. But if you just want to try some out, you can go to Amazon. If you search for bone and tissue ointment, you'll see all the people raving about it. Yeah, bone and tissue ointment, great for wound care, great for just pain, scrapes. You know, if you're getting into a wound you're worried about being infected, it might help with that, but add some wildflower honey. Wildflower is your best topical antibiotic in the world. So add some wildflower honey to that if you're dealing with something that you're worried about getting infected. Do some research on that. Amazing stuff. Okay, I am going to wrap this up so I can get all this ready to go, clean up my mess, and I got my big pot. This is a big 20-quart stock pot, and I will just set this down in the oven there and let it cook and cook and cook. So just thought I'd share this with you as I put this together today. Some good stuff. It's nice to just sit down and work with the herbs, and you know, it's a great way to bring unity. You know, I mean, we got to stand up for liberty. We got to stand up for what's right. We got to stand up for truth and justice and principle and morality and honor. But helping people feel better is really rewarding, not only for your own family and for your own independence and being able to not rely on government and the system, but also just for being able to reach out to other people and kind of make it not about faction. And so these are things that I think every family should kind of know how to do. We should all know how to make medicines and things like that. We don't need to be reliant on the system near as much as we are. All right, you guys have a good Sunday.